Well, hey everybody, it is Romania Black, and we're starting season 2 of Natsume's Book of Friends, Natsume Yujin-Cho, and yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. A new a new OP, a new ED. What am I gonna do with myself? Before we get started, though, I am recording ahead because I couldn't wait. One and two, I'm trying to get some summer recordings ahead. So I wanted to let you know that I had received, thanks to the glorious gift of Patreon, the volumes for 1 and 2 of Natsume's Book of Friends. I've looked through them. I'm quite intrigued by a couple of things that we're going to talk about here in just a second. I'm going to pull up the streaming service because I want to talk about something real quick. Yeah, I read these 2 volumes over the weekend and was like, oh, okay. So interestingly enough, there are some filler that I didn't realize until I read the manga, and the manga has some things out of order from season 1, so I think that's pretty interesting. I told the moderators, and I've talked about on previous episodes, that I would like at the end of each season to read the volumes of manga that correspond with that season. So, with that being said, I definitely do not want manga spoilers in the comments. I've asked the moderators that if they see comments relating to the manga to let me know, and I won't read them, just because I want to enjoy the manga when I get to it and then come back and talk to you all about it. And then we can talk in the comments about it as a group. So kind of like a book club, right? But some things that are noticeable. One, I do like between the 2 covers. The first cover has Natsume with the red kimono. The second one has a blue kimono. One has Madara with the cat form. The other one has the mangaka actually says they were inspired by the Never-Ending Story. They can't come out and say it's the Never-Ending Story, but they said a movie from their childhood with a creature that looks just like this, which is the Never-Ending Story. So I was like, oh good, glad we got confirmation about that. Something else too is that the manga has Natsume with silver hair and silver eyes instead of the blonde hair. I don't know if that's just a coloring issue with it. Who knows? But I did make a few little bookmarks. I feel like such like a betrayer to the English and literature community by making bookmarks. The actual illustrations, the manga is captivating. If you've not read the manga for Natsume's Book of Friends, I really recommend it. I'm kind of enthralled by the illustration style. Here's the thing. A lot of times when mangaka use white space, they get a lot of grief for it because it comes across as laziness. No, this mangaka, Midorikawa, this mangaka utilizes white space in some really interesting ways, and it never feels lazy. It feels artistic. So I really, really like it. But I did mark a couple pages. One is, yeah, the mangaka does say in the manga that they wanted to make Madara creepy. There are some pages where Madara is freaking creepy. There are some ways that he's drawn in the line art and the work that I'm like, ooh, that is a little bit off-putting. And I think that that's by intent, right? Something else too is that I really, really like some of the extra stuff that they give us. Like, for example, Madara, Natsume notes that he kind of gets into his dreams and he's been peeking around at some of his dreams and he's like, what are you doing? He's a lot more brash with Madara in the manga than he is in season 1, which I think is interesting to note. Another thing that's interesting to me is that there is a lot of extra content in the manga that talk about Natsume's life before he met the Fujiwara family, and the idea that he not only was bullied and literally physically abused because of his ability to see the yokai, but the way that it's portrayed, where he's been bounced around from home to home, is given a much more negative context. It's a lot darker. The manga's a bit darker than the anime season 1, in my opinion. Now, the other seasons may pick up the darkness post this, but for me, the manga for season 1 is a lot darker. At least that's my view of it. The other thing that I wanted to note, was there anything else in volume 1? A couple of things. So the Dew God is mentioned in the manga. That episode 1 and episode 2 are pretty beat for beat with the manga. The mysterious person at the 8 fields in episode 3, they're not. That seems like a filler episode. They're not there. And the heart-colored ticket is a filler episode too. And I was like, oh, okay, I see. Now the swallow is the Swallow is chapter 4 in the manga, so they are there, right? As well as Natsume meeting Tanuma, which I guess is the mysterious person episode 3. Never mind. They're there as well, and they actually happen pretty early on. But, however, something else is that the little fox spirit, they're not in this at all. The fox spirit's not here. And I was like, oh, which episode 13 is not in these 2 volumes at all either. So I don't know yet, and I won't find out till we finish the season. Just don't tell me. But I won't know until we get to the end of season 2 if episode 13 and the fox spirit is technically in volume 3, and they just didn't want me to go ahead and read because I would be getting a volume and only being able to read part of it, or if the fox spirit in episode 13 is all filler. I think it's all filler because Shigure and the Girl is featured in volume 2. It actually happens pretty early on, but then we have The Exorcist and the chapter with Notori. But the thing of it is, at the very end of where episode 4 would be, at the very end, it shows in the manga that Sasada moves away. It shows her ending up moving away. So I was like, is all of this stuff with Sasada being cock-blocked, is that all anime original? I was like, is this all anime original? Is all the stuff with Tanuma, like blocking her off and not letting her get near Natsume? Is that all anime original? Because it seems to be, because it talks about her moving away and then leaving after the whole Shigure thing. And then we don't get episode 13 featured in the manga, so I'm like, was that all made up too? I mean, it felt, if you told me that episode 13 was a filler episode, I guess I could kind of believe it because not much happens except the festival and it's all a conglomeration of characters before. But then they set up the stuff for Notori, so I'm like, is that all going to have something happen to it? Or is it going to get previewed in volume 3? I have lots of questions, so we're going to see that when we get to it. I really, really like Hinoue in the manga. She cries when she finds out that Reiko died, and Madara pretty much confirms that she was in love with Reiko, so that is a thing. We have Brelly-san. He's featured in this, which is really fun. And then, yeah, Madara is just kind of spooky in the manga, I'm not gonna lie. But otherwise, other things, I do think Notori is a little bit more creepy in the manga than he is in the anime. There's also like a little extra scene like with Natsume and them visiting like a training martial arts house together before they have their break. I really like Brelly-san in the manga. You all can't see it very well, but Brelly-san in the manga looks pretty creepy. That intro where he's shown is a pretty creepy reveal. But yeah, what the heck? I really like the manga. It is great so far. I have no qualms. But yeah, so we basically got 8 different chapters. So some of the others, like, if there's 8 different chapters, basically, and we had 13 episodes, then there was some filler, I guess. I'm really excited, though. I'm excited to get the opportunity to read the manga as I dive into each of these seasons. I pulled up episode 14, and guess what, y'all? The streaming service I'm using, we got that 480p. The Drag Race gloss is still on, but I have a feeling that the first 3 seasons, because I think the streaming service I'm watching through puts the first 3 seasons together, and then I think the other seasons are their own thing, so the quality will probably be about the same for the first parts, but my moderators have given me a big old list of different Natsume content, and so they were like, you can go ahead and watch season 2. There are going to be 2 episodes where I watch a 2-in-1, so there are going to be 2 weeks where I watch 2 episodes in one. The moderators have already told me about it, so I've already prepped for that, so we'll see. But I've rambled on for nearly 10 minutes, but I just wanted to let you all know that I really, really enjoyed manga volumes 1 and 2. I think they're really good. Definitely talk in the comments down below about the first 2 manga volumes, about them in the Discord if you want. But I'm excited to start season 2 of Natsume's Book of Friends and see what all we get. So it's storming outside, but we're not going to let that stop us. We're going to start Natsume's Book of Friends, episode 14, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's see this brand new OP maybe. Well, that was a fun start to season 2. I really like how in the manga, there's a couple things. I was so ready to start this episode that there were a couple things I didn't note from the manga that we're going to talk about in this discussion that I kind of got earmarked, but what a great way to start out this season. So, new OP, new ED. The ED's animation I'm kind of in love with. I love the snow background. I love the animation on Natsume that they did for the snow. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then the OP hints at some new characters, which I'm really excited about. One thing I did want to notice that I kind of thought about as we're going through this is the concept of Notori, who is our exorcist, being kind of like Reiko, possibly. And again, I'm just formulating theories based on what I know. We still have the rest of the series to get through, but in the character description for Notori, they talk about how the mangaka wanted to draw someone who is indenturing yokai even though he doesn't like them. And I thought that was really interesting because with Reiko, the manga makes a lot of references. The manga makes a lot more references than the anime does in season 1 to the fact that they kind of spell out pretty clearly that Reiko didn't like people. She didn't like the humans around her because they all basically made her life hell, kind of like Notori, and that she just took out her anger on the yokai and then indentured them. But she also felt kind of possibly like a kindred spirit with the yokai because she felt like they were ostracized kind of like her by humans. It's sort of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend sort of situation. But she's a lot more brash and a lot more rough than Natsume, which is why all the yokai are like, oh, you're not like Reiko. You're a lot different than her. But I wonder if Notori is a little bit more like Reiko. Perhaps. The only thing that's kind of ironic is that Notori, is well liked by the humans around him because he's a movie star, whereas Reiko was not. So I'm also curious about the man that she ended up marrying. She had a kid, and I think in the manga that they said it was Natsume's mother that is Reiko's daughter. I think the manga says that. So we'll have to see if that's mentioned. The anime hasn't mentioned it yet, but I'm pretty sure that the manga mentions it like once, that Natsume's mom is Reiko's daughter. So I want to know all the stuff about Reiko, but this is a long-running series. I feel like the mangaka is going to just make us wait a little bit before it gives us that information. But still, I'm curious to see if Notori will be kind of like the Reiko stand-in in this series or what will end up happening with that. So we'll see. Poor Natsume, though, getting hit by a ball that he didn't even want to play with. The mangaka makes all of these creepy yokai just pop out of nowhere, which is really, really crazy. And likes to use a lot of movie references, like Madara is obviously referencing a Falcor from Neverending Story. And then this creature, the yokai that grabs Natsume at the beginning, kind of looks like Ringu. So there's a lot going on here. We'll talk about that angelic yokai, the master, that I was like, oh, I want to be part of his crew. Madara, can you go away and let this guy take over? Oh my god. Natsume is just, I feel so much for him because Madara is such a little shit. And of course they have to start out this episode by going back and explaining how the Book of Friends works, what Madara's role is, how we do. So I want to look up the voice actor for Reo. For Reo's voice actor. I want to see who it is. Natsume. I want to find out. I thought it was Reo, right? Isn't it? Oh, let me look real quick, y'all, and see what their name is on there. Because we have the animation for that scene was absolutely gorgeous, right? It was so beautiful. Yep. And here's the name. And then release it. Rio. That's what it is. Otherwise, the search engine's not going to give it to me. Rio's voice actor. Tell me who is the voice of that character. I want to find Rio, and I don't want to be spoiled, so it's a little bit hard. Okay. Voice actor. Tell me. Mayasa Matsukaze. What voices have they done? Oh, they were Kyoya from Ouran High School Host Club. That's where that voice is from. Oh my god. I had the biggest voice crush on Kyoya's character from Ouran High School growing up. That's where it's from. Yes, I was like, that voice sounds so familiar. What is that? That's it. That's it. They also are Teru in Death Note. Oh my god, they're Mikami in Death Note. Oh my god, that's where that voice is from as well. I'm like, I know it. I keep hearing that voice. Such a smooth voice. It's so good. Yes, please. Were there any others that I know other than Death Note and that one? Sailor Moon, there's Zoisite. There's Zoisite and Sailor Moon Crystal. Interesting. Okay. Have they done anything else? Stars Align, they were Ryoma. Nice. They were Colt in Attack on Titan. Okay. Baxter and Moriarty the Patriot. All right. All right. Anything else I would know that they have been in? There's a lot of anime they've been in that I want to see. But yeah, Kyoya. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he was the voice of them. Oh, love it. Love it. Nice. Great. Actually, Natsume's Book of Friends was one of the earlier series that they did, so that's pretty cool. Nice. Ah, that's so good. Love it. So yeah, interesting. Good deal. Masaya and Matsukaze, yeah, they did an amazing job voice acting. Their voice is so smooth. I was having the biggest crush. But yes, so I feel bad for our boy Natsume. I want to note the giant, like 40 ounce of beer that the Fujiwara sir is having for dinner. It's just so weird because I know that like beer in Japan is pretty common for people to drink at dinner time, especially for adults. But just seeing this like 40 ounce jar just smack dab on the table, it's like a glass of wine. It's like a bottle of wine in the middle of the table, and just pour that Sapporo out, and there we go. But I really like, especially how the manga portrays Natsume's adult, like growing up, his childhood, and showing just how horrible it was for him to fit in. It makes me appreciate in the anime the Fujiwaras that much more, because the manga gives us some darker moments with Natsume. In the one scene in the manga, if you get it, where Natsume is like beaten up and like his eye is like all bandaged up, and they're like, what happened? He's like, I got made fun of and these bullies got me because I said there was a spirit. And I'm like, why are you with these people are so cruel? Like, I remember as a kid, I wouldn't have made, if I was a kid, I feel like that's maybe like a US versus Japan difference, maybe. Because in the US, I feel like growing up in the 90s, if a kid was like, I see ghosts, I've been like, tell me about it. And maybe I would have just latched onto them, and that's just my personality, but I don't think I would be bullying them. I'd be like, tell me more in grade school. So, but it's really sad. It makes me really sad watching this episode and seeing Natsume being ostracized, and it makes me love the Fujiwaras that much harder. So yeah, I think it's really cool how the episode showed that the master of the forest, since they like humans, they brought, you know, he instantly was okay with Natsume like giving him a bath and scrubbing him off and pampering him. Like, he likes humans, so he was all for it. And I think it's interesting that we get a yokai who is very open about how much they love humans. And that kind of, you know, goes back to Natsume in the last season, talking about how they used to not like humans so much, but now they do. And they also are starting to care more about the yokai as well. So it's cool to get those different perspectives in this. But damn, Madara being like, honey, I'm home. And then just showing up drunk as a skunk. Madara, you are lucky that the master decided, Rio decided to leave, because I don't think there was much competition. He gets to be a bitchin' black cat, and then he's this beautiful angel. I mean, but yeah, so he takes the Book of Friends, and the whole point is for him to lure them to the gathering, the Foxfire, to gather and let them know to stop them from hurting the humans, because that's not what he wants. He doesn't want them to hurt anybody. I do like the expressions in this episode, like Natsume being like, just let me keep looking. Like, the distress on his face was animated really well. For being 480p, they animated this episode pretty darn well. I thought they did a good job. But then we get to meet Benio, and I really like Benio. Benio's, I absolutely love their design. I love they kind of have like the Shinobu Demon Slayer butterfly on their head, and she knows Madara, which is great. I think it's wonderful. What I love about it is that she kind of is like all about Madara's like majestic form, and Natsume's like, oh, do you know her? And he's like, oh, yeah, sure. And so she's like, oh, are you going to eat this human? I'll have some leftovers. And he's like, no, lower your voice. And she thinks at first that he's Reiko. And then, what is the procession of yokai up to? And she's like, we're looking for the master. I like that she helps them out, and she doesn't immediately be like, no, I don't think that any of this is going to work. She does say that when he looks impudent, he looks a little bit more like Reiko. When he gets his resolve and determination, he looks more like her, right? But the attitude and overall goals that he has are not like Reiko at all. So I think that she does a lot of kind of stirring the pot here. And she's like, because when she says, oh, well, you truly do resemble Reiko. Is that your type, Madara? And I was like, girl, I was like, stir that pot. My theory that Madara liked Reiko and that's why he sticks around Natsume. Because honestly, if he really wanted the Book of Friends and he really wanted it that badly, he could kill Natsume and take it. But I think, one, he doesn't want to kill Natsume because Natsume does remind him of Reiko. He liked Reiko, but he doesn't want to do her grandson wrong and insult her memory. And two, I think that Madara really is bored. And so the chance that he could share these fleeting moments with this human, I think he's trying to relish them, right? And that's kind of the theme at the end of the episode that we'll talk about it. But yeah, Madara being like, you shut your mouth, don't be a fool. Any more nonsense and I'll eat you up. And Natsume's like, let's not get into that. I like that they basically just put the masks on them to hide. I guess that mask is enough to hide them and make them into a yokai, right? Because the yokai have a potion or something that they eat, an edible, that will make them into a human for so long. So I guess the masks just kind of disguise their presence or hide the fact that they smell like a human somewhat. They still smell him, but it manages to work for a while anyway. But yeah, so Natsume is... the woman Benio says that Reiko is well known, so we don't want to outright have Natsume show up and cause a scene. And then we have the flashback with Natsume inheriting the book of friends from one of the relatives. The relatives who are quite brash, like they're just like, oh yeah, what a weirdo. Here's some scribbles. You can toss it if you want. It's your grandma's. I'm like, these people are so disrespectful, right? I can't imagine. Like, it really paints a picture of just how shitty things were for Natsume, because I'm sorry, but no matter what your relatives were like, it's just, maybe it's I'm not a Southern belle by any means. I'm a Midwesterner, but there's a little bit of like Southern hospitality where I'm from, and it would be very, very taboo for someone to take a relic or an antique that had sentimental value from your grandparent and be like, what a weirdo your grandparent was. Here, toss it, I guess. I don't know what to do with it. Like, that would be so rude. And the people would be really looked down on where I live. People would be looked down upon hard if you were that disrespectful to like your dead grandparent. So I just seen that. I'm like, damn, what? It just floored me. But different culture, right? A different culture. And I feel like Natsume has realized from the first season that just like how not every yokai is out to eat and kill him, not every human is as rude as these relatives he was staying with. So not every human is like that. And it's just taken him a while to come to that conclusion. But I like how Reiko and Natsume and Notori are the only ones we know of with the mystical powers. And Notori and Reiko have basically... What's interesting is that Reiko supposedly challenged the yokai and forced them to submit to her. And Notori, it almost feels like he gets them to submit to him, but it's not the same type of force. It's interesting. So yeah, so they end up going down to this feast. I love the cat mask that Madara has on as the female human version, where it's just the cat mask. That's so freaking hilarious. I love it. And when they go down to drink with the spirits, I just love the creativity of all the different yokai. It's so cute. The one dog one is drinking out of the dish. They're having all these mushrooms. And they're like, come here, boy, sit down and have drinks with us. I like that Natsume, high schooler Natsume, is just drinking sake with ghosts. Like you do. And Madara's just like, you might as well just give him the whole drum. Have him eat the whole thing. But yeah, then this big spirit comes out and says they're going to settle the score by going to the house where supposedly he's locked up and freeing him. So what's interesting is that Reiko had the name of the master in her book of friends. Was she the one that sealed him in the little temple? Possibly, but they almost make it seem like it wasn't Reiko. Kind of like Madara. Was Madara sealed by Reiko into the house or not? I want to go back to that flashback. And I like that Madara's like, well, yeah, normally they wouldn't hurt any humans, but they're pretty drunk, so they might cause a ruckus. And then that's when he's like, we need to figure out what the master's name is so that we can release him from the Book of Friends. Interestingly enough, it's worth noting that you can't find the name in the Book of Friends if they're in a vessel. So Madara's name couldn't come out because he was in that vessel. That's interesting. I feel like that's a little piece of knowledge we might want to hold on to for later. But yeah, he wanted to lead them here. And there's a powerful yokai. I mean, they're trying to remember what the master's name is. So we can't break the seal unless we figure out who knows their name. And then Natsume being selfless, and going up to the yokai and asking if any of them know the master's name, even as they're all about to kill him. I mean, do we expect any less from our sweet Natsume? Do we really? But yeah, as they're about to attack him, Madara goes in there, but he gets knocked out of the way. And he's like, someone has to know the name. And that's when he hears it. He hears it out of the crowd. I thought that was pretty clever, that he was listening as they were all coming to attack him, and somebody said the name. And then Madara heard it. And this whole sequence here, where he transforms into his, like, mystical form, and the book opens up, and it's all, like, blue, like the angelic yokai's hair, like Ryo. Like, that whole sequence of him returning the name was gorgeous. It felt very much like, we're coming back for season 2. We're coming back out to start the season off. Here's some awesome animation for you. Go right ahead. It was really, really good. I love it. And yeah. And then he breaks forth, and it's just like, I wish Griffith from Berserk was this way. I really do. He's so beautiful. Like, of course they'd all bow to him. He's just like, the master is glorious. I'm gonna just say, this big burly man holding Natsume in his giant hands, cradled by his wings. It was a moment. It was a moment. It was almost a shippable moment, and I was like, oh, hello. And I almost thought there was going to be like a Yuri on Ice kiss when he like nudged foreheads with Natsume. I was like, is this going to be like a Yuri on Ice kiss and we're not going to see it happen, but it happened? I mean, he's beautiful and Natsume doesn't seem bothered. Yeah, their eyes like lock, and then he touches forehead and there's like a ripple in the water. And so we see that Ryo became a human and got their foot stuck in a damn bear trap, and then the guy, or a fox trap. Oh, I bet it was a fox trap. Because then they talk about him being like a fox spirit. When they said in the episode that he was like a fox spirit, for a second I thought that he was like the fox spirit from last season. And because the fox spirit from last season technically wasn't in the manga, I'm like, oh, are they going to tie it into this? And it'd be like a relative of his or the mom or something else. But no, it's a different kind of fox spirit. And he gets caught in the trap in human form, and the hunter saves him. And then he like gets his foot bandaged. And then the hunter like talks to him and goes into town with him, and he follows and shows him like eating the watermelon. And then in town, he gets the steamed bun from the women. Like, all the humans were nice to him. And he tells the man about it. And he gives him a head pat. Yeah. And he says, you kindly freed me from my bonds and I can move about. I went to see my beloved friend, but she was gone. So when he said she was gone, I was like, the person in the flashback with him the entire time was an old man, was the hunter. So I'm like, was he talking about Reiko? Was it a mistranslation of the subtitles? Did he mean to say he instead of she? That would make sense if it was just like a misspelling and he meant to say he, like he went to go see his friend who was the hunter, and they were gone. So y'all have to tell me down in the comments below. Well, here's the thing. If it is a mistranslation, let me know, and it was supposed to say he instead of she. But if it meant she, that's enough. I'll assume it was Reiko. And then he got imprisoned. But interesting. So yeah. The life of a human is over so quickly. And I can understand why everyone considers me a fool. So yeah, and Madara looks at him in that moment, which I think helps influence him to stick around. So maybe the angel yokai Rio was saying that after he was released from the prison, he went to go find Reiko, but she was gone. And then he found him instead with the Book of Friends. Interesting. That could have been what he meant. But yeah, I think the fact that he talks about how he loves humans and he finds them fascinating and wants to stick around with them, I think that resonated somewhat with Madara, and he decided to stick around too after that. That seems to be the case. He's like, I didn't want the humans to get attacked on my behalf, so I had you intervene. And he's like, it was humans who sealed you away, and yet you tried to stop them. And he's like, well, I love them, and I don't want to tread upon their lands. And then he says farewell, and he just like rises up, like he even has blue hair, kind of like Himmel from Frieren. It's like, you know, yokai Jesus, like leaves with like a little bit of snow behind. I don't blame Natsume for being a little melancholy about the black cat leaving, because I really wanted him to be a reoccurring character. I was like, oh, he's so cool. And then Madara's like, don't be giving him so much compliments. He looks the same as me, even though they're completely different. I like that Benio kind of gets amused by Madara and how uppity he is about the entire situation. It's adorable. And then Benio's like, I can't imagine liking humans like you do. But she's like, I was going to wait. I like how all of these yokai tell Natsume, they're like, we were going to wait behind and see if you died, but I guess we'll let you live now. And Natsume's like, why, thank you. Thank you, yokai, for letting me live. It's just so funny. And then she's like, I was going to let, you know, Madara eat you and help him when your guard was down, but you've helped the master, so I can't do that anymore. She asked Madara if he'll return with her, and Madara's like, no, I'm going to stick around for just a wee bit more. I want to watch him. I thought it was interesting at the beginning of the episode that whenever Natsume was fighting the spirit and he was like, help me, Madara, Madara's like, nope, you're on your own. And at first glance, it seems like Madara is being mean when he does that, but it's all to let Natsume get stronger and be able to defend himself against the spirits. So he's just slowly edging Natsume out of the nest. And can we truly be mad at him for that? I don't know. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, he's like, until that brief instant passes. Yeah, because back during the conference with the yokai, Benio, she says that Natsume is not like Reiko, and they note how human lives are so fleeting and they're so instant that he wants to kind of soak up and enjoy this for now. It's really cute. And so then, yeah, Natsume is like, it, you know, troubles me that even small goodbyes make me feel a bit sad. This part was so melancholy because it's like he, you know, and it made me kind of think about, you know, the real world where when you say goodbye to people, you just never know what's going to happen. And he makes this moment to say, like, you need to treasure all these brief little moments. And it just makes me like want to go out and live life. Like, it's just, this show makes you want to like go out and live life and hang out with people and create these memories and moments. It's just, it's so beautiful and it's so sweet and tender. And that's kind of what I love about Natsume. It doesn't try to be something insanely epic and bombastic and over the top. It's like, no, we can teach you these small little moments and let you savor them bit by bit. That was the other thing I was going to talk about with the manga. At one point, the mangaka talks about how this is apparently his 10th manga. Hi. Yeah, Yuki. This is their 10th manga, which is insane to me. And is Yuki a woman? I want to say it's a shoujo, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Yuki, yes. Yep, it is a woman. Yep, who does the series. So, yeah. This is her 10th manga. And so I really, really like that. And they said they had originally considered having a female protagonist, but then they liked Natsume as a male protagonist. And I agree. As fun as a female protagonist would be, I like that Natsume is a guy because it kind of subverts a lot of like, this came out in 2009, so it was written a little bit before then. So it kind of takes not necessarily toxic masculinity, but takes like stereotypical masculine traits of a main character protagonist and sort of subverts them a little bit, right? But they noted in the manga that they like writing episodic episodes of Natsume, episodic chapters, and I really like their reasoning. Their reasoning is it's in a monthly serial magazine is what this series was published in, and their reasoning was they wanted it to where anybody could open up a magazine to any chapter of Natsume and instantly dive into the story. They wouldn't feel lost. They could instantly feel like they're at home with it. And I'm like, that's really smart. I like that a lot because it's sometimes, I feel like with series like One Piece or something where there's thousands of episodes, somebody's like, oh, I'm never going to catch up with all of that and figure all that out. But here you can just watch an episode of Natsume. And I was talking about it with the moderator Floor and some of the others in the Discord that's like, you can just start an episode of Natsume and just pick it up and instantly connect with it and not feel like you've missed so much of the plot line or storyline. Obviously, you want to try to watch all the episodes so that you can know everything, but you can jump in without worrying about feeling left behind. And that feeling, I feel, is intentional with this series. So, it feels so good to be back in Natsume world. It feels so good for season 2. I'm super excited about it. I hope you all are as well, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'll be back very soon with more of Natsume Yujin-Cho or Natsume's Book of Friends.